How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at Werewilba. This is the werepig side of Wilba, one of the new characters for Don't Starve Hamlet, the new DLC for Don't Starve, and this new ability for her was announced at the same time that Wormwood was announced. So it's a relatively recent change, and I think it is worth exploring because there's some interesting stuff going on here. So by default, you're going to convert either when you eat 2 pieces of monster meat in a row, or during a full moon, or during an apocalypse. Let's get started here with probably one of the more obvious ones, and that is during a full moon. One of the new things that was added along with her ability to turn into a werepig is the silver necklace here. You will see it in your inventory when you first start the game, and if you equip it during a full moon or any other time basically when Wilba is expected to turn into a werepig, it will prevent that from happening. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to advance to the next sector, so advance to night. You'll notice that instead of converting into a werepig, she's just rocking back and forth and losing her sanity at even a greater rate. And if we take it off, then she will actually convert into the werepig itself. And as you can see, while you're a werepig, you can see in the dark. You can chop things like trees. You can dig things up. You can mine boulders, or you could hammer structures. So all of that's possible. And unlike Woody, you're not going to have any problem carrying that stuff with you. So if I go ahead and mine some stuff here, I'm going to be able to pick it all up. And you also have a map available to you, unlike Woody as well. A couple of the downsides here, though, is that hunger is going to drain really fast. This is the hunger that's draining faster than Wolfgang. It's 400% increased hunger drain, which makes it difficult to maintain this form. Luckily for us, at the end of every night here, Wilba is going to change from Werewilba back into normal Wilba, and one of the advantages of doing this is that during each change, the character regains all of their health back, and you'll notice also here, during the transition back, Wilba dropped 2 beard hairs. So when playing as Wilba, you will be able to get beard hair relatively easily, a little bit like Wilson. It's not quite the same, but somewhat similar. But I really didn't demonstrate this. What will happen is that if you take damage while in the werepig form, when you convert back to normal Wilba here, you're going to have all of your health back again. So you're going to have 150. And if you convert from Wilba into a werepig with, let's say, 5 health, you'll be immediately given 350 health. The werepig version of Wilba does have 350 health. Another common way of turning into the werepig, of course, is going to be eating monster meat. This could be seen as being similar to the way Woody works. So once you eat 2 pieces of monster meat, Wilba will turn into a werepig. Wilba we can prevent that, of course, by once again using the silver necklace. And you'll notice here, after I eat the second one, instead of Wilba turning into a werepig, her sanity is actually draining quite alarmingly. This is at a pretty significant rate. I'm not exactly sure how much it is. Mostly, it really does increase the rate at which you drain sanity. And if you don't take it off, it will never stop draining, even after the 1 or 2 days, however much meat you ate, because each monster meat adds an additional day. So this will make it 3 days. I'm supposed to remain as a werepig as far as I can tell. It could be 2 days. It's 2 or 3. I'm not exactly sure if they count the first meat in that duration or not. But if you leave the necklace equipped even after that, even though you would normally not, it sort of breaks the necklace. I'm not sure how to explain it, but what would happen is that even after that time had expired and she was no longer at risk of turning into a werepig, wearing the necklace would still be draining sanity, regardless of how many times you took it off and put it back on. Let's take it off here, though, and then you get to see what exactly happens. It's the standard transformation process, and now we're in a little bit more of a pickle because we're not just going to be in this state for the night segment. You're going to be in this state for up until the time expires for the monster meat to wear off, essentially. According to what I've read in like the wiki and stuff, it takes 1 day for the monster meat to wear off. So each monster meat you add, each additional monster meat you consume is going to require an additional day for that to wear off. And I imagine it stacks a little bit like WX's overcharge. A couple of other things, being in this state, it's pretty cool. You can, of course, knock down houses if you want, but there's not a whole lot of benefit to that. Cool things, though. So you have your 400% hunger drain, but you are moving 50% faster. This is as fast as WX is going to be moving while you are overcharged. So it's a pretty significant increase in your overall speed. You also deal a lot more damage. You deal as much damage as a Hambat, or 59.5 damage points. So as you can tell, if you manage to not take damage at if you're good at kiting, basically, this could be a pretty powerful character to fight with. That said, unlike Woody, Wilba here does not have any sort of damage reduction modifier. So if you take damage, it takes the full hit. So right there, we just dropped down by almost 50 health points from taking that one hit right there. On the upside, you do naturally heal by 0.5 health points per second. So that's basically 1 health point per 2 seconds, which allows you to heal back up, providing you're not starving. So hunger is going to ultimately be the deciding factor here. If you have enough food on you, you can maintain this state, and this state is really quite useful. There are really not a whole lot of downsides to it. Another thing is that if you do fight the guard pigs in the state, you are going to maintain a hostile relationship with them after you turn back into Wilba. So they do remember you, even though you are a werepig. I think one of the more weird aspects of what she's able to do comes down to the fact that she can build stuff. So for example, I could go ahead and build a campfire here. I could craft a crock pot. I could craft rope. So I can craft all of these things. I can prefab and craft, but I can't do something as simple as cooking meat over a campfire, which in my opinion is a little bit ridiculous. On the upside, I guess, of having monster meat like this is you can eat it with no penalty as Wilba. So you could eat monster meat, but I don't know how long this effect works essentially, but I'm assuming that it stacks the same way charges for WX stacks after WX gets overcharged, which means that you'd be doing yourself a pretty massive disservice by continuing to eat monster meat, because you'll just have to maintain this huge form for longer. And while you can craft stuff, you can't use the crock pot, right? There's nothing, you can't use any of these structures. You can't jump on boats, for example. So it is a very limited state, even though it is better than the werebeaver state. All I can do here is knock structures down. You can go ahead and destroy all of them if you want. And then the other aspect that I was getting at comes when you use the silver necklace here during a full moon. So normally what would happen is that at the start of the full moon, you convert much as you would, turn into a werebeaver as Woody when the full moon first comes out. But of course, if you're wearing the silver necklace instead, you will prevent yourself from turning. However, the next morning after that full moon, after the day is completely over with and the full moon is no longer existing, it's no longer night, if you remove the silver necklace, you will turn into the werepig version of Wilba until the start of next morning. So what you're essentially doing is you're increasing the amount of time you have to spend in the werepig state, because even at its worst, for a full moon, you don't convert until it actually is night, and night is never greater than the sum of evening and daytime. So for avoiding the full moon and the consequences of it, at least in its current implementation, this could actually be a bug, but in its current implementation, there was literally no reason to ever use the silver necklace, and because it's only going to increase the duration you have to spend in the state. If that's what you want, maybe that's a good thing, but at the same time, you could always increase the amount of time you spend in this state simply by consuming monster meat. So I really don't see any benefit to the silver necklace for mitigating the effects of the full moon. Then the other option, of course, is when you're eating the monster meat or during the apocalypse. But during the apocalypse, I have no idea. That could actually be quite useful to equip the silver necklace if you're unprepared for it. For monster meat, though, I would say once again, the silver necklace, it seems to be buggy in its current implementation, and it doesn't stop draining your sanity after you are supposed to be clear of the symptoms of eating that monster meat. So either the silver necklace is bugged, or I would say it's the weakest point of this entire character, because as a whole, I really like this side of Wilba. It makes her a lot more interesting to play. Granted, before she was kind of an easy character to use to rearrange an entire town, but as far as her being a really rounded character, there was not a whole lot else to her. Being gifted items because she's royalty was not that big of a deal. It really was not a game changer for me. In addition to being able to collect things like grass and whatnot on the map, grass and twigs, berry bushes, those are things that you just, you clear out yourself, just get the hammer, the executive hammer, and clear out all the guard watchtowers around there, and you're fine, right? So those were not too big issues for me, but I really like this side of Wilba. As you can see, we're down to 0 hunger now, so of course you're going to be taking damage, and then eventually when your health fully depletes, you will die. But this side of Wilba could be really exciting for things such as exploration, because, granted, if you have a walking cane and stuff like that, maybe it doesn't make as much sense, but maybe for early game exploration, this could be an interesting side of her, because you do have an increase in speed that is identical to how quickly WX moves when overcharged. So there's really some interesting stuff here. I think it's useful. I'd like to see what I can figure out what to use this for. You know, you have night vision as well, so exploring things like runes is going to be easier in this state. Since you heal naturally, well, I'm not going to be healing now because I am taking damage. But, you know, providing you're prepared for this situation, you can run through things such as the pig runes here and just absolutely decimate the mobs in here. You don't have to worry about light, and you're just really powerful. You know, you can one-shot these bats because you have as much, or you deal as much damage as a normal ham bat would. So it's pretty cool in that way. You also have, you know, the ability to mine, to chop wood, to hammer stuff down, and to dig things up. I could dig all of these plants up here, and you can still carry them with you. That was always the big problem with Woody, right? Is you couldn't carry any of this stuff with you on the way back. So not only can you stockpile things here, she's a better version of Woody in that sense, but there is a big downside, and that is her hunger drains at a massive rate, which means that this is a manageable state, right? Food is one of those things in Don't Starve that you don't have to worry too much about acquiring. So I don't see that as a massive downside. You know, once you've stockpiled enough food, you can go into this state to do some stuff, you know, mine resources, explore the map, whatever it is, whatever you need, clear out the runes down here, because you are powerful, even though, you know, you do have a limited amount of health here. But you are pretty strong, and you have a good deal of health to help, and then you heal as well. So overall, I really am excited now actually to play Wilba, especially with her Werewilba form. And I hope you are too. I hope this gave you some ideas of what you can use it for. Keep in mind that the character may change in the future because, you know, from what I've observed here, there are still some bugs, especially related to the silver necklace. But so far, my impressions of the new side of Wilba have been pretty positive. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.